Our favorite sport should be kicking into high gear, but championship dreams now being put on hold.
It was the first time the game has really been taken away from them.
COVID-19 throwing a curveball into how games are watched, how games are played.
You know, it's going to be different. We know that going into it.
And also changing the way we stay in shape.
A lot of parks and recreation professionals, of course, are sharing best practices.
So we called an audible.
We are getting kids and their parents back on bikes. It's now a family activity again.
Waiting for that moment when the ballparks and the stadiums are packed with electric fans once again.
Sports will happen and sports will come back.
This is a KTVU Fox 2 special zip trip, the power of community. Youth sports, high school sports, college sports, pro sports, and personal fitness all taking center stage for us here in the next coming hour. Look, I've never been a big workout guy in the morning, but hey, I haven't even been to a gym in a while, 5 months to be exact. Here's a live picture though from the East Bay, specifically Diablo CrossFit, located there in Pleasant Hill. You can see folks outside, social distancing, getting in that morning workout. Good for them. Welcome to the 9, everybody. Alongside Sal and Garcia, I'm Mike, and we are excited to give you the Zip Trip, our final one of the summer season, where the focus is indeed on sports. And I tell you too, look, there are two things that I love live, and that is music and that is sports. I mean, I could talk about youth soccer all the way up to the World Cup. I could talk about Little League to the World Series, swim meets to the Olympic Games. I mean, live sports, I mean, for the spectator in me, it's the adrenaline I get from sitting down and standing up and the screaming and the yelling. I've been passionate about it since I was a pup. And then as an athlete myself, Sal, the same thing, that same amount of adrenaline, you know, from playing Little League and seeing your family in the crowd, you know, your cousins who were visiting, to high school when I played in the SH Bruce Mahoney game at Kezar, 10,000 people. I mean, walking out of the tunnel, nothing like it. And here we are approaching the fall season. And unfortunately, for a lot of fall sports out there, they're just not going to happen, Sal.
Yeah, you know what, Mike and Garcia, I was joking with my wife about I'll watch anything that's on TV that's sports. I was getting ready to watch curling. I've actually started watching things that I wouldn't have watched before. I watch more soccer. You know, I'm watching a lot more golf. Yeah. So anything that's on TV now that basketball and baseball are back. So we're very happy to have it. As you say, Mike, it does play a big role in our lives. And Garcia, I know that your sons are into sports as well.
Right. So, you know, full disclosure, I did not grow up in a sports household. I remember like when the Niners were in the Super Bowl in the mid 80s, we had to essentially explain to my parents what the Super Bowl was. And then we used it as an excuse to buy snacks and eat them in front of the television. But now that I have little ones involved in sports, I get it. I get the camaraderie. I get the companionship. I get the accountability, not just from the coach, but from your own teammates. So, you know, whatever your sport is, I would assume that you miss it if you're not doing it because you're missing the people who are involved in it. So we're going to talk about sports you can still do, sports you're doing a little bit differently, and of course, the eventual hopeful return to those professional sports we all miss. And we're going to kick it off with a big name from the 49ers. So coming up in this hour as we take our zip trip all about Bay Area sports, making a statement on and off the field. We'll explore how the 49ers and other pro sports teams are standing in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. Also, high school sports just changed overnight because of the pandemic. How the student athletes are making adjustments to the new health guidelines during practice. Also, a great excuse to get outside, get some fresh air, and easily follow social distancing rules. We'll let you know about one extreme sport that's gaining in popularity all across the Bay Area.
All right, let's kick it off indeed with pro sports, because pro sports have definitely been in the headlines this week. We have seen NBA teams walk off the court. We have seen Major League Baseball teams walk off the field. We've seen NFL teams cancel practices, not because of the pandemic, but due to the call for racial justice in the wake of the Jacob Blake shooting in Wisconsin. The president of the San Francisco 49ers, Al Guido, kind enough to join us live this morning on Mornings on 2. Al, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Before we dip into the whole pandemic, I got to ask you about what I was just mentioning there. I mean, what is the dialogue within the San Francisco 49ers organization about what is happening there in Wisconsin and really across a lot of streets in America right now when it comes to racial justice?
Yeah, Mike, our team has been having this dialogue, unfortunately, for the last couple of months, as we all know. And, really proud of Kyle and John and our players and our leadership group alongside of our ownership. We donated $1 million that we're about to announce in the coming weeks what organizations that those are going to go to fight racial injustice, systemic racism in this country. And so our team has been fantastic. Our players have been filming videos that are on 49ers.com, having open dialogue and conversations about this. And so, today we're going to have practice in the stadium. It's going to feel a little bit different. Normally we have it in front of fans, but really proud of the organization. Feel great about our ownership, our guys in our locker room, but it's certainly a time for all of us to act and to be an active member of our community.
I've been watching Hard Knocks, over the last few weeks, and they're focused on the Chargers and the Rams. And you talk about, working out in the stadium. I know they're doing that now. And it's been interesting to watch it because of all the changes due to the pandemic and what these players and coaches are going through just to put the pads on and have a practice with pads. For you and the Niners, what's been the biggest change through the summer camps, and what's your biggest observation, Al?
Frankly, doing what we're doing now. I mean, we had to do, our coaches had to do a lot on these conference calls and not in person. And so, you can do a lot as you're already doing, right? We're doing this now this way, but you do lose some of that camaraderie that you all know really well about building a team. And so, frankly, just getting the guys back in the building was a huge blessing, right? Having sports back, it brought a smile to my face. I walked upstairs today, I saw Kittle laughing. And so, we're all doing our part, right? I got my gator on. I'm going to get ready to go down to the field. I got my tracker here, that I have to wear that keeps me socially distanced. And look, I think the NFL has done a great job. We've done a little over 60,000 tests, frankly, between August 12th and August 20th, and not had one positive from a player perspective. And so we got to keep this going, right? And it's our job to practice best behaviors for our community. And I think our players have done a really nice job on that front.
We're less than 2 weeks away from those first games on that Thursday, and then you guys follow on the weekend with Arizona at home. No fans at Levi's Stadium. That was the call made this week. I mean, as a fan myself, I'm like, come on, can we put 5, 10,000, 15,000 in there and do the social distancing? I mean, was this really a big debate or not at all in regards to no fans, at least to start the season here? And do you think, Al, we're going to get there eventually, maybe midway, 8 weeks in, 10 weeks in, that we will have fans at Levi's?
I'll start with I hope so. I don't think it was a big debate. I mean, we've been working with state and local officials and really following health protocols. And, we felt it was important. Again, not our call, but we're going to start the season with no fans. We only play one game in September, home game, as you know. We don't come back at home until October. And I think it's amazing what's been done, frankly. If you think about this, we've been in it for 6 months. I know sometimes it feels like a year or longer, but the progress we've made on testing, certainly in this area, I mean, our officials have done a fantastic job. And here locally in our county, we've gotten tremendous amount of support. So look, for me, obviously, like a born and raised sports fan, having the faithful here, having the home field advantage, even if there's a limited amount of audience, we would love to have that. I know our players would love to have that, but we got to do the right things in our community and our society. And frankly, we got to keep supporting our frontline workers to get to a point where we can get there. And I think we're all doing our part.
Hey, you talk about supporting the community, and I've done this story with you guys before, but the Players for a Purpose fundraising event, is that still a go? I know that's usually coming up. Are you guys going ahead with that?
I appreciate you bringing that up. We are going to go ahead with it. It's going to be in a virtual world. So we've probably all, I have 3 little girls that are now going to virtual school. So we're going to do it in a virtual world. Our players are going to participate. And I think for us, it's all about raising money. And if you think about the 49ers Foundation, really what we raise money for is education and youth football and things of that nature. And so, if you talk about education today, the divide in our country, right, around the resources necessary to keep our children, right, our most precious asset, learning. And this is what this foundation is all about. It's what the York family came to do. We generally raise about $5 million per year that we put back into the community. So if you get a chance, go to 49ers.com, check out where we're doing Players for a Purpose. Whatever you can give, $1, $5, $10, it'll be a tremendous help for us giving back into those educational pieces that are so vital to our community today.
Hey, Al, stay safe. I appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, you're very busy as you guys are approaching kickoff here to week 1. And, hey, go beat Arizona. You
got it. Thanks so much for the time.
All right. Al Guido there, the president of the San Francisco 49ers. And you know what, Gassia, I mean, I wanted to throw that fan thing in because I'm one of those individuals that would love to be inside the stands. But there are some teams out there who are thinking, hey, we can pull it off in our city, but at least in Santa Clara County, not right now. No fans come week 1.
Right, I know we ran a little clip of an old football game, and immediately it was the roar of the crowd that got me. And I remember way back at the beginning of the pandemic, we heard from players, I think back then it was mostly basketball players, who said, I'm not going to play to an empty arena. And now when you think about, look, I'll take 10 people in the stands, right, Sal? That would be an improvement over, just no action and complete silence. I think at this point we're ready for, whatever those teams can give us.
I'm a little afraid of what you might hear during a live NFL game if those microphones catch what is going on down in the pits, Gassia and Mike. Could be kind of scary. We'll see. I mean, I kind of want to see. It's kind of like an accident you don't want to look away from. So we'll see what happens. Well, with the pandemic forcing students to be taught from home, it became pretty evident early on that high school sports would have to be put on hold for this fall. But the fall sports season isn't lost, it's just postponed. Let's bring in Frank Malakote to tell us more about that. Good morning, Frank.
So, good morning to you. Yes, there's still a lot of work to be done, but assuming the state of California does have improved COVID-19 numbers come the wintertime, there's a good chance football, soccer, volleyball, and all the rest of the fall sports will be played over the wintertime. It's a long wait for some, but at least they have hope.
Are you ready for some football? Well, the high schoolers will have to wait, along with 7 other fall sports. They've all been pushed back 4 months until December. It's all part of the California Interscholastic Federation's plan to create just 2 seasons, winter and spring, to allow every high school sport a chance to have a full season in our COVID-19 world.
I think everyone just want to know what's the plan. And now that we have a plan, okay, we have something to shoot for. We have a goal, but they also are realistic in knowing where this stands and that it's health and safety at the forefront.
Safety protocols are already underway at Marin Catholic in Kentfield. Players are allowed to work out 12 at a time. There is no contact, and social distancing is required. It's all about conditioning now and keeping players mentally alert until the winter, like linebacker Kekua Garrido.
We're super grateful to even have a season. We're grateful for the CIF fighting for our season. We're just excited.
A lot of the young men in our program and coaches and parents, they're a little bit tough on them initially, but everyone just sort of, hunkers down, gets new bearings, and then onward.
The decision offers clarity and hope to the over 800,000 high school athletes here in California. But the condensed sports year does come with a few issues, like overlapping seasons for multi-sport athletes that may play, say, basketball and baseball. They would have to choose. Oakland High's basketball coach Orlando Watkins brought up another good point, too, the weather.
I'd much rather the indoor sports go first because it's wintertime. It's flu season. Some kids are going to get a cold. And because of the COVID pandemic, they're going to have to shut down or send their kid home for 2 weeks. And it's just a common cold.
Well, it's not perfect, but we'll see if it works. And Coach Watkins did tell me he is thrilled that the fall sports athletes still have a chance to play. Now, it may seem odd, but high school football playoffs will actually stretch into the month of April, and many of the spring sports like basketball and baseball, well, they'll finish in late June after graduation. I don't think anyone's complaining. By the way, California is one of a dozen states that has adopted this new 2-season plan. That's the latest. I'm Frank Malakote, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Coming up in today's Zip Trip, how we stay in shape turned upside down during the COVID-19 pandemic in our next half hour, how Bay Area gyms are changing the way they plan workouts. And many are going online instead of going outside. Up next, we'll let you know about the extra attention esports is getting. The pandemic has changed how we play sports, so it may be no surprise that more people are going online to play their favorite sports. To catch up with how esports has been seeing a resurgence, let's bring in Hunter Lee, who is the head of esports for the Golden State Warriors. Hunter, thank you for joining us. A lot of people have been playing. My friends all play, for example, online golf, or they play NBA 2K. 2020. So I think that this was going on before the pandemic, but how has the pandemic accelerated this, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think when traditional sports were sort of by necessity forced to pause earlier in the spring, what was left is things that could be done safely during COVID, which was, online and remote activities of one kind or another. And esports, which has sort of been blending kind of in-person events and kind of online broadcast and online activity, was sort of just ready to roll straight on with minimal interruption. So the competitions across a bunch of different games, that you play or your kids play or whatever, we're able to continue on. And I think in particular when sports channels, ESPN, ESPN2 and those kinds of channels had less traditional sports to cover, esports was ready to fill that vacuum. And I think that was a big boost for everybody who's been active in the industry for a long time.
Hunter, Twitter and other social media has been blowing up about the Golden Guardians and the NBA 2K, that whole thing. Why is that so popular now?
Well, I think everybody plays video games, everybody. And so, some of the games that we're in with Warriors Esports are the biggest games in the world. League of Legends is one of the biggest PC games in the world. NBA 2K, one of the biggest games on consoles that people play at home. LeBron James plays. Everybody plays 2K who's into basketball in one form or another. And so I think it's just natural. What esports did is take this hobby that, a lot of us grew up with as being, something you do on your couch with your brothers. The broadband internet, Twitch, and live streaming brought this sort of individual hobby into the masses in a different way. And so, it's natural for something that you're passionate about, that you spend a lot of time to talk about it on social media. And in particular, what we're doing, our NBA 2K team, the Warriors Gaming Squad, is playing in the NBA 2K Championship this afternoon at 4 o'clock. The Golden Guardians, our season just ended in League of Legends, but we were in these incredibly exciting playoff matches. And these kind of hype things where you have hundreds of thousands of people watching online and following on social media, they get a lot of people talking.
Tell us a little more about Zenny. What kind of work are you doing with them?
We're incredibly happy to be partnered with Zenny. I think a lot of us joked when the pandemic hit. Gamers have been training for this our whole lives. We're staying indoors. We're staring at our screens. We're spending a lot of time, playing games. Part of the way you get really good enough to be pro, is that you grind away for time and time and time. And what Zenny does is it protects us. It helps us do that more healthily. You spend a lot of time looking at screens, and the blocks technology in particular just makes that something that's easier on your eyes over time. And we're all now working from home. I'm sure everybody watching at home has experienced this. Meetings that you would have in person, conversations that you would have in person, you're now doing those with your screen even more than you were doing before. And so their technology allows our pros who spend a lot of time at screen already to recover and spend longer days behind the screen better. And even for me, who's not playing games all that much, but spending a lot of time in meetings, even more so looking at a screen than I was before, and lets us do that with less eye strain, less fatigue, and do it day after day after day the way we need to more successfully.
Hunter Lee from the Golden State Warriors Esports, thank you for joining us. I know a lot of amateurs out there want to become pros, and we're into it, Hunter. Thanks for joining us on this Zip Trip.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up in today's Zip Trip, burning off steam by riding off the beaten path. In minutes, why BMX isn't just for adrenaline junkies or expert riders, and how the whole family can get in on this action. Since the beginning of the pandemic, bicycles have become a very hot commodity. Bike shops can't keep them in stock. Used bikes on Craigslist are going for about what they cost new. More and more people are using bikes to get around, get some good exercise, and if you have a bike gathering dust in your garage, here are some ways you can take it out for a spin. Mountain biking trails are packed across the Bay Area. These riders are giving us a view of Oakland's Joaquin Miller Park. Even in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, you won't be alone if you head out for a ride.
Are we ready to ride right now?
Yeah.
When? Like in a second or right now?
Right now.
Let's go right now. Come on.
In Napa, a hometown hero of sorts, the 2008 bronze Olympic medalist in BMX, Donnie Robinson, says he's seeing more people ask themselves his favorite question.
My whole goal ever since retiring from active competition has been to get kids back on bikes. That's the whole mission statement. Let's get kids back on bikes, and I tell them all the time, how far can two wheels take you?
BMX is one of the few sports that is happening and open to new as well as experienced riders.
You know what? Haven't seen you.
Robinson says safety is number one. He's carefully following state and Napa County guidelines. That means far fewer riders are allowed on the track, no crowding at the starting gate. Everyone has to wear a mask until they put on a full-face helmet, and parents have to stay in their cars.
When your helmet's off, please put the mask on.
He's been holding as many free community track time sessions as he can, and he's seeing a lot of new faces. And he wants to see more.
A mountain bike, a bike that you buy at Target or Walmart, you don't have to have any sort of special equipment. We have loaner equipment here that we donate out for free to these kids because we want the barrier to entry to be as low as possible. Look, if you like riding bikes, or even if you don't know that you like riding bikes, come out, give it a shot. We'll put a helmet on you, a bike under your legs, and this sport is as easy as riding a bike, but way more fun.
Along with North Bay BMX in Napa, there's also the Santa Clara PAL BMX track in the South Bay. There are dirt jumps on Stanley Boulevard in Pleasanton and Dirt World in Richmond.
They were fearless from the start.
Alyssa Menchaca's two sons took to BMX immediately. She says she's grateful that biking is one of the few sports that's thriving during the pandemic.
Outside of baseball, outside of soccer, outside of football, where this is something that you can always do, right? You can always pedal a bike. So this is what's really exciting about this sport right now, because this is what exists. This is what you can be outside, you can have your helmet on, you can be 6 feet apart. You can do this during COVID.
Talia Dawson's been riding for about a year. When she rides,
I feel happy and kind of scared.
Robinson says he loves watching riders go from timid to tenacious.
The feeling of acceptance, being a part of something, being a part of a sport where the coach is not telling you to sit on the bench. There is no bench in BMX racing, except for the ones that we're sitting on right now. But if these kids want to get out and ride their bike and do it to their heart's content, they can.
Robinson says riders tell him these days that as soon as they get on a bike, things start to feel closer to normal again. That makes his work at the track fulfilling in a whole new way. He is the perfect ambassador for this sport. Look, we've put all the links to the BMX tracks I just mentioned in Napa, Santa Clara, Pleasanton, and Richmond, all under KTVU.com web links. You may have also seen groups of children riding bikes in your neighborhood like the good old days, right? Because they don't have much else they can do. And, you know, many parents say that they love that their children are getting some good exercise on the bike, and parents are letting their children go farther away from the house. They're letting them roam a lot sooner than they would have if the pandemic hadn't happened. So I think it is one positive twist to the strange times that we're in. So Mike, I know that your family has a million wheels in the garage. Are you guys big into biking and scootering and all that these days?
Oh yeah, we've been going to the bike park a lot, you know, and I'm usually like Joe Picnic guy. I'll put down the blanket, have some beverages, a shower, a sandwich and stuff, and then the kids will go to the bike park. But now they put peer pressure on me. They understand what peer pressure is. So they say, hey, let's go do level 2, Dad. And so, you know, that starts to kick in and I do it. And there's a couple times there where I'm out of control. I'm like, I can't, I mean, they're awesome. They're charging it. And it's not for me because I can't show up on Monday with cuts and bruises and all that stuff here. You know, we got to bring the news, but they're using those bikes a lot. And so I'm happy that they're out there. I'm happy that everyone is using them. Coming up next, right in today's Zip Trip, looking for the silver lining while facing an uncertain future. In minutes, how college athletes in the Bay Area are making plays happen despite COVID-19. And standing up for what they believe in. Up next, how pro athletes are using their platform to bring Black Lives Matter back into the national conversation.
Welcome back to The Nine. This hour we're talking about all things sports and personal fitness. This is Diablo CrossFit in Pleasant Hill. You can see folks are outside. They're social distancing. They're putting their shoes on. They're lifting weights. They're getting in their morning workout. The gym used to be inside, but now it's outside, and people want to get these things in, and you can see that they're not keeping a little thing like not being inside, not to work out. Earlier in the hour, we heard from the 49ers front office about how the NFL has changed amid a global health pandemic and nationwide reckoning on racial justice. Let's check in on some of the other professional athletes. For more on that, let's bring in my buddy Matt Steinmetz, who is one of the co-hosts of Bonte, Steiny, and Guru on 95.7 The Game. Steiny, good morning to you. The other day, we happened to be hanging out when we realized there was not going to be a playoff game because the athletes didn't come out to the floor. It was the Milwaukee Bucks that did it, but then it spread to other sports. Have you ever seen players using their platform in a unified way like this?
No, not at all, Sal. And I think we're at a time now where all professional athletes are kind of under the same umbrella, regardless of their sport. The Milwaukee Bucks were the team that took the initiative here. Obviously, in the aftermath of what happened to Jacob Blake in Kenosha, they've seen this firsthand. They also have a player, the Milwaukee Bucks do, Sterling Brown, who's a victim of some police brutality a few years back, and he's actually sued the Milwaukee Police Department. So, Milwaukee, the Bucks have a history here with these kind of issues, and they took it to the court to send a message, and I think the message was delivered. Now, where we go from here, again, I'm not sure, but there's no doubt that a lot of people took notice, and certainly the other leagues took notice, and the NHL and Major League Baseball also followed suit.
Doc Rivers, Chris Webber, George Hill, you mentioned Sterling Brown, Robert Horry came out and had statements, and then you had the Giants not play, the A's didn't play one day. And a lot of people have been saying, yes, I appreciate that the teams are, aware of social justice issues. And then you have others who say, hey, I go to sports to get away from all that. I wish they would just play the games. Do you hear a lot of that when you're doing your radio show, differing opinions on this?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, to my way of thinking is the NBA is primarily African-American players. That's the way it is. And so it's not unusual to me that it would affect the African-American players in the NBA, maybe to a greater degree than some of the other sports. But the thing that I take with me is these guys love to play basketball, and they feel like things have gotten to such an intolerable point that they had to make some kind of statement that they are not on board with this. And the one thing I will say, Sal, is a lot of questions are being asked, well, what's the end game? What's the plan? And a lot of times these kind of things don't necessarily have a plan. And there has been some criticism about, well, what's sitting out one game going to do? I think that actually sitting out a game was right on the money, because they actually still have what they did in their back pocket. If down the line they're not convinced that anything's changing, they could do this again, and the goal obviously would be to make the front offices of these teams, which are primarily white and without people of color, to feel a little of this impact, mostly monetarily.
Matt, real quick before we have to go, do you think that interest in sports has been heightened or lessened during the pandemic?
Boy, that's a really good question, Sal. And we're seeing some good numbers in terms of viewership for baseball. The NBA's numbers are down a little bit, but it's not clear exactly why the NBA's numbers are down. A lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact that the NBA, when they came back, has been playing a lot of games during the daytime. They've started at 1 p.m. on the East Coast at times since the restart. That doesn't lend itself very well to good ratings. But there's clearly a boost to baseball and a little bit of a deficit for basketball. So it's kind of hard to answer why one is going in one direction and one is going in the other. And also, it may just be an outlier in the first place because of the pandemic and all the social justice issues that are going on right now in the country. I would take a step back and look at it over the course of time rather than in the span of maybe 3 to 5 months.
Matt, thanks as always for joining us right here on Mornings on 2. Remember to catch Bonte, Steiny, and Guru. He's going to go on the air right now, pretty much, from 10 to 2 on 95.7 The Game. Matt and I also host a sports podcast together. We call it the Sal and Steiny Podcast. You can download and listen on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sal, Steiny, great conversation. All right, thank you for that. College sports and the pandemic. I want to talk about this a little bit here. The Big Ten, and then out here in the West Coast, the Pac-12, postponing fall sports this year, all because of COVID-19. I recently spoke to a couple college athletes from Stanford, one who was really looking forward to defending her national title this fall, and another who was hoping to have a great football season with the goal of that it would propel him to the National Football League.
From the 15, Daniels throwing end zone.
Head on a swivel, flying around the field.
That ball is intercepted. Malik Antoine.
The Stanford captain, the free safety, the motivator.
Hey, if you haven't already, flip that switch.
He's Malik Antoine, and he loves football.
It's over his head and picked off by Antoine again.
I love contact and just being able to hit people.
Last December, with the NFL draft ready to possibly call his name, he pulled back in a tweet saying, "The story continues. I'll be back."
I'm loyal to this school for right now.
The young man from Louisiana wanted one more season on the farm, but then a pandemic. And now the Pac-12 says no college football in the fall. Regrets? Not at all.
1, 2, 3. Family!
I just love being around this family, the Stanford family. And so I just really wanted another year to come back and be with these guys. But even for my personal career, I just thought I needed one more year to put some good stuff on tape. I think that I haven't reached my fullest potential as a college player yet. And so I really have been working hard this offseason to try to make my best tape come on when we get to play.
Also last December, the Stanford women's soccer team won the national championship.
I don't even remember what I was thinking. I was just sprinting to Kiki after she scored that last PK. It was just so many emotions.
Naomi Girma is considered one of the best defenders in the nation, and yes, she's disappointed that she and her teammates do not get a chance to defend that title in the fall.
100%. That's definitely something, like right after we won, we were like, we want to go back to back. And we know that we could just because of the team that we have this year. And that's just kind of the standard we set for ourselves. Like we want to win every year. That's our goal. So it's definitely difficult not being able to defend it in fall.
They are two elite college athletes, separate teams, but one family, the Stanford family. And no pandemic is stopping them. Their mental strength is alive and well. Their physical preparation is extreme. They are paving their own road to success, not just on the field, but in life.
I think the mentality is still the same for our group. Like, we still want to get after it in training. And like, as of now, we don't know if we'll be on campus for fall quarter. So we don't know if we'll be together. We might all have to go home in a couple of weeks. So we're just trying to make the most of our time together right now.
When things go wrong, when things don't go according to plan, you kind of see who you really are as a person. So right now I'm just focusing on how can I make myself better in little ways? How can I be a better leader to these guys in this team? How can I make myself a better football player? It's like I said before, at some point I will strap on my helmet again and play with my guys. So right now it's about getting better, both mentally and physically, and just trying to make a good moment, a good thing out of a bad thing.
Thank you to both for taking the time to talk to me. By the way, Naomi, the pride of Pioneer High, right there in the South Bay. Now, I asked them both, I said, hey, are there any positives you can really take out of this, not playing in the fall season? And they both kind of had the same answer. They're like, yeah, this gives us an opportunity to really work on our individual skills. So when it comes time to actually play with the team, there's no dust there, that there'll be better players for it down the road. And Gassi, I will say for Naomi, she is also part of the U20 national women's team. And that World Cup, the U20 World Cup, is set to go in January. So hopefully they'll bring that World Cup home here to the States.
Absolutely. Also coming up in today's Zip Trip, the way we work out changed almost completely overnight. In minutes, how Bay Area gyms are still making personal fitness a top priority despite all the challenges. Also, finding ways to allow people to just get outside, have some fun. Next, we'll let you know what Bay Area parks and rec crews have to offer.
Since the pandemic began, you might think that your local park and rec leaders haven't been up to much, but they have been working really hard to get you some opportunities to go outside, use the parks, and have some fun.
Since March, playing at the local park has seen a new set of restrictions because of the pandemic. It's common to see children's play areas closed and basketball courts sitting empty. In Concord, recreation leaders say people can still get outside.
There's lots of traditional park experiences that are still available for everyone to enjoy. We see people on our park paths walking every day, the trails throughout the City of Concord Park System, which also includes the Lime Ridge Open Space.
Parks and Recreation Director Steve Voorhees says sports, where people can be 6 feet or more apart, are enjoying a surge in popularity.
Because golf is an activity that really lends itself to social distancing and you don't share equipment, we're seeing lots of people come back to the sport and try something new and take a lesson and enjoy the driving range and putting green. All of that is open, along with regular golf at the facility.
Concord officials say Diablo Creek Public Golf Course has seen a lot more players this summer than last. You can also play tennis, pickleball, and jump in the water at the Concord Community Park Pool.
So you can make a reservation to lap swim, which is a new innovation for us. That wasn't part of our system before.
Just like in Concord, in Alameda, there's also a lot you can still do. We saw the tennis courts at Franklin Park being put to good use. Recreation manager Patrick Russey says his team realized in spring this year wasn't going to go the way they thought.
As we got closer and closer, we came to the realization that it wasn't going to be a typical summer. And so I'd like to say at that point, we kind of pivoted and we said, okay, what can we do? And what can we offer?
Just because of the pandemic doesn't mean you guys have completely shut down. It sounds like you still have plenty to offer.
Yeah, it's not as robust as it has been in the past, but we're looking at other opportunities.
Alameda will offer esports tournaments for the entire family, trivia nights, and continued childcare after school. Rusty says adults as well as kids are included in the planning.
The adults still need opportunities to get out there and do recreation. And immediately, I know this summer we focused on the kids, but in the fall, we're going to try to reach out and do some things that are a little bit more family-oriented or more something specifically targeted for adults.
Recreation departments throughout the Bay Area and the country have been working hard to offer ways to play and recreate in our new reality.
We do know that people need quality recreation experiences to be healthy. It's an essential service, and we're committed and determined to find ways to deliver those programs in meaningful ways.
And I think that's really been, I think the takeaway from this is how important recreation is for everyone.
Yeah, Mike Garcia. Mike, I know that you get out to the parks. I know that you take your kids to play ball and to throw the Frisbee. And we've realized how important that is.
No, I'm at our local park all the time. You know who else is at the park? Our local firehouse, Engine 58. Just want to mention them. Thanks for all they do. And I was just there the other day, Garcia. We had the agility ladder out, and my kids are going up and down for a good 30 minutes, So thank goodness we have it. It's been a blessing over the last 5 months to have that park.
I agree. We are so thankful to have them in our communities, 100%. If you need some more accountability, though, when it comes to getting your workout in, maybe you are going to your gym in a whole new way. Of course, some businesses shut down almost immediately as the COVID-19 crisis became a pandemic. That forced many gyms in particular to come up with new ways to keep their doors open for their workers and staff and customers. Many would agree that Diablo CrossFit in Pleasant Hill has met the challenges head on. Let's talk about this more with Craig Howard, owner of Diablo CrossFit, also a personal trainer. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you guys are outside instead of in. What have all the changes been at your gym?
Well, we started out when we first shut down. We didn't know what to do, to be honest. So we went via Zoom, and we gave people workouts to do at home. We loaned out 600 pieces of equipment. Then once the county and state allowed us to do workouts outdoors, we mobilized and put together tents and stations for people to work out and do classes right in front of our gym.
Gyms are in a particular problem spot because going to the gym requires me touching equipment and using equipment, me exhaling very heavily when I'm getting my workout in. What are the particular challenges when it comes to keeping a gym open instead of, say, a restaurant or, a clothing shop?
Absolutely. For us, it's no shared equipment, and that's easy to do. We're a CrossFit gym, and CrossFit by nature, everybody does a workout. They have all of their equipment right with them, and then we clean that equipment in between each use. Another thing that's really important to do is keep air flowing. We have fans even outdoors to keep air circulating. Being outdoors obviously is helpful. It helps disperse particles. Even when we're indoors, though, or when we were indoors, we have high ceilings and negative air pressure ventilation where everything goes up and out, keep fans moving, and it helps keep people essentially germ-free in this environment. What another nice thing, a barbell. We use a barbell for a lot of our strength training exercise. We feel it's important to building core strength and long-term strength for health. A barbell is 7 feet long. By nature, we have to stay 7 feet apart, and we've always, being apart from one another is always something that we've been comfortable with. And we also are class-based only. So when you come in, you're coming in at a specific time to a specific spot. You stay in that spot until your time is up, 45 minutes, and then you're gone.
Can you tell me about how the finances of all this is working? What's your long-term prospect?
That's a good question. So it initially was a struggle, and fortunately the PPP helped us out quite a bit. We did lose a considerable number of members when this first was announced, as everyone expected. But we've been able to grow our business back since then by offering outdoor classes and online classes to where we're about 75% of where we were same time last year. And what our members, our amazing community, has done is supported us throughout this process. We had more than half of our members continue to pay us during the pandemic because they wanted us to be open after this was all over. So for us, it was a struggle at first. We're able to get through it with the support of our members, and it looks like our business is on track. Garcia, one of the interesting things is that this last month with outdoor classes, we've added about 30 new members. People are hungry for fitness right now, and I think that is because of the seriousness of the virus, and especially for those that have other comorbidities or other metabolic diseases. And they know that obesity and diabetes and these types of diseases are curable with proper nutrition and good exercise. I think over the next year, to be honest with you, we're probably going to see record growth in our business and gyms in general.
Well, I know many people are now saying they will never take their relative good health for granted again. Well, it's great to talk with you. Congratulations so far. Craig Howard there at Diablo CrossFit.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hungry for fitness. I love that line. All right. Coming up in today's Zip Trip, the Oakland Roots soccer team working toward a comeback. Up next, how the team actually hopes to find success after their second season was cut short. The Oakland Roots soccer season was cut short when the coronavirus hit back in March. But as KTVU's Claudine Wong reports, the time off the field really did give the team a chance to grow and kind of come together with the hope that down the road it will all lead them to success.
It's just practice, but it's amazing how these days the simple things can bring so much joy.
Just really, smiles on their face and playing like they really missed it, and they were so just overjoyed to be back.
And while this is about soccer, for the Oakland Roots, it's always been about more.
Having Oakland on our crest is really an important
thing to stand up for.
And so the team that returns to the pitch now is different from the one that left.
We were still figuring each other out. Yeah, we were picking up results, but we had a lot of work to do. We still do. We'll always have a lot of work to do. But one thing I would say now is we're a lot closer. I could confidently say now, like, I feel like this is a family from top to bottom.
A family forged by what they did when they were off the field. They couldn't play because of COVID, and so when George Floyd was killed, they talked instead.
Those were some very tough conversations initially because, the guys were feeling me out, and I had to share some of my experiences growing up as a half black, half white man in America.
Team captain Nana Atakora says the experience changed him.
Other people within the club have helped me realize it's okay to express yourself, be heard, and I can't explain how grateful I am for those people who've helped me get to this point.
There were real tears shed. There were real eye-opening, mind-blowing moments from all sides, even myself, in some of these conversations.
It was a time they say they all needed to process what was happening in the world. And it was also a time when the club and the league needed to figure out how to get back to the pitch safely.
We've looked at everything we can do beyond literally wrapping our guys in truly a bubble and keeping them from interacting with the rest of society.
We've taken a lot of tests. We test on a weekly basis.
Testing protocols are strict, and Atakora admits he's still nervous every time he steps on the field. And he's not alone.
Yeah, I would say a good 90% of the team. Yeah. I mean, it's real. You see all the, the lives being lost, and we all have family members. Most of us have family members that have been affected by COVID, one way or another. So we understand it's real. It's real, but we do love, yes, we want to play. We love the sport, but, there's life. There's real life that goes into this.
So he says this is about trust in their protocols and in the commitment of all teams to adhere to them. Let's go, Roots! And yet, while the days of sold-out crowds and packed stands seem like a world away, they say coming back is important.
I do believe that sport is really important to just mental health and the mental health of our individuals and of our communities.
Giving others the same joy they feel when they play the game. We've had to be patient, but there's a new unity in this team.
Now when I step on the field and we go to war, it's like, you're not about to bully my brother, or you're not going to bully me because I have, 22 other guys who I know have my back.
It's always been about more than just soccer, but this team says it's ready to play. Claudine Wong, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Oh, and they will play. The root season will begin next month. First match scheduled against the LA Force.
All right, before we have to go, we want to leave you with this picture and 3 cheers for our own Pam Cook. Check out, she was on vacation last week, as you know, and during vacation, she shot her first ever hole-in-one. This was up at one of the country's best golf courses, Bandon Dunes on the southern Oregon coast. Of course, Pam mentioned that golf is one of those sports that can be done when she's not reporting and is perfect for social distancing. So congratulations to you, our own Pam Cook. I give you a golf clap. What do you think, Sal?
Exactly. Pam, we're proud of you here on Mornings on 2. Well, that's it for our zip trip. That's it for our zip trip season. We've had a lot of fun doing these zip trips. We'll probably return next summer. We'll see what happens. The next newscast is coming up at noon with Mike and Garcia. Thank you for joining us. Wendy Williams is up next. Have a good weekend.